we always got to talk about corporate politics in some way, shape, or fashion. We shed on that before. And by the way, playlists will be at the end of the video if you want to check that out. What are some unspoken truths about corporate politics and how to navigate that like a boss?
Biggest one is that everybody is afraid of the person above them. Classic corporate is that people below, if you're a president versus a vice president versus a director, and so on, everybody is cowering. Like seriously cowering. I've seen it so often of the person above them. If the person asks you, if a VP asks a director, get me a coffee, Tom. Tom's running out.
Yeah.
Frantically to go make a coffee. I swear, I've seen it. It's crazy. A quick tip on that one. Since you have the cowering fears of the people above in the corporate politics, the best way to navigate that one is to treat everybody as if they're just the same person as you. So if you're walking through the street, you don't know who that person is, and you're going to treat them just as you want to be treated. Just because they're a vice president or a director or what have you, doesn't mean that they get any extra respect. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like treat them as they're a normal person, and that actually is going to look a lot different. And people of corporate politics can see the fear of people below them. It's kind of a control thing that I think is a natural trait of human habit, is that they can take advantage of that. So if Tom went and got that coffee all frantically, maybe I can continually get this guy out getting the coffee and it's not going to be a big deal because it becomes a normal routine. Or I can take that same fear and use it for something else I don't want to do as well. So fear tactics get played in corporate politics because everyone's afraid of the person above them. And you're going to do, as a department, ridiculous tasks. And this one's crazy, is the fact that they'll ask something that you already know the answer to, and it could be so stupid and so pointless and a waste of time, but you got to do it anyways because your boss is in fear of the person above him asking.
Right.
And just wants to get it done. That's a big thing that people probably don't realize or they see, but like if your whole department's doing something that you think is stupid and a waste of time, it's probably because the person below the person asking didn't want to say no. That's a big one. Another big corporate thing with corporate politics is that how much people make in salaries do not get talked about. And it's also the worst thing that you could do as an employee and the best thing for a company. The company doesn't want people to talk about their salaries, and somehow our entire society has moved into an area where nobody talks about how much they make, especially in the workplace. The repercussions is that Bill sitting right here next to me is making $30,000 more than me. We're doing the exact same job, the exact same level, because it creates tension, right? But the best thing you can do is say, okay, Bill, you're making $30,000 than me. And we both go to our manager and say, why is one person making more than the next? We're both doing the exact same job at the same level. Like, I should be making more. The best thing employees can do is get together as a group and go and figure out their salaries and figure out the whys and why nots, and then you can help each other out. And that's what unions do very well. They keep their employees on a good salary, hourly rate, and everybody's happy. But when you don't have a union, companies 100% take advantage of salaries and the fact that nobody talks about them. You're never going to know how much your boss makes. His boss ain't going to know how much his boss makes. The only people that really know how much people make are like the presidents and the vice presidents, because they have to put it out there publicly. But I can tell you what, another thing is nobody knows how much they're making from bonuses or stock shares or any of that. They're never going to know that. It's pretty rough because it's unfair. Corporate politics is, oh, great. It's unfair. That's the way it is here. If you want to make more, move up. Another thing is that, speaking of moving up, companies play favorites. So you could be a really hard worker and produce a lot of good work. Maybe you're an asshole. Maybe you're a nice guy. You know what I mean? If you're the asshole, you're not going to move up quick because the people above you trying to make a good friend group. Like if you're on a dodgeball team and you're the captain, you're picking your favorites. You're doing the ones that you think are going to do well. Maybe your friends standing there. In like high school and elementary school, the captains are picking their players. Like obviously they're going to pick the best friend first, regardless of if they're a good ball thrower or a blocker or not, and then they're going to start going down that alley, but the best friend is going to be there quickly. So, a good way to navigate that is to talk to the people above you. So, for an example, I worked on the floor where there was all the managers, all the directors, the vice president, and the president, all on the same floor. This is a blessing in my eyes because I knew about this first. The best thing that I can do is go talk to them as much as I possibly can and try to navigate to become friends. That incorporates the last thing I said of talking to them as a person, not being afraid of them. Figure out, what are their interests? Do I have similar interests? Can I play those interests? And try to use it to my advantage so when it comes to raise time, I get picked first for the raise or the next level or a higher bonus. And it actually, I swear to you, it has worked for me and it's worked very well for me. So that will help you. So knowing that companies play favorites, be the favorite. So another thing is, unfortunately and fortunately, I would say, I didn't mean to be so keyword on the unfortunate, but I do think it's a bad thing. Race and gender inequalities exist in the workplace. Companies nowadays are trying to get like that level playing field of like more women in the workplace or more men in a woman dominated workplace, or if you're all white dominated workplace, they're trying to get, some of the minorities, and now they're going to take, whoever is the minority, whether it be a woman or a man or a non-white versus a white or Hispanic or whatever, those people they're going to try to move up even if they're unqualified for the job. So that's why I'm saying unfortunate, is because if they're unqualified, then the companies are getting bad people at higher level, which trickles down to having bad departments and not good work being done. Or it's a great thing and like, yes, we do need this, and they happen to be qualified as well. And that's happening. So I've seen it many times where an unqualified woman gets a boss position over a very qualified man, and everyone's mad because the woman was definitely not qualified, and now our department's going to go down because of what happened here. And you have a more qualified person working under that underqualified person, and that person who's qualified leaves, and we've had a huge tragedy in our department because of how the corporate politics are playing. It's not good. In my opinion, it's happening, so just watch out for it. You can take advantage of it too. So if you happen to be that minority, put yourself in that position to get more money. That's what's going to happen, right? If you become a manager, you're going to make more money. So there's good and bad to that, but the point is that it is happening and that you should know about it. The next thing could be funding. Sometimes companies are doing well and sometimes companies are doing bad. Right now, companies are very politically motivated in general. So we are in a time where we are trying to go more green, more culture dynamic. For an example, the Black Lives Matter thing. When that happened, you probably saw a lot of, articles coming in trying to educate people on Black lives and what's going on and how you can do better. Companies are becoming more politically driven. Everything's, online, in your face. You're forced to learn about things that you may or may not want to learn about. So those things are happening. And it can lead down to funding. So maybe a department will get more money versus a department that won't because of some political agenda. It is huge right now, especially in like big tech or utilities. Utilities are a big one because they're regulated by the government, like a gas industry or a water industry or an oil industry, whatever it is. People who have public utility, like an electrical company, they're going to be very politically driven by some sort of agenda, and they could have their hands in the pockets of politicians, and those politicians are telling them to work one way or another way. Like, for an example, the whole nation of America is trying to get rid of fossil fuels and move towards eco-friendly things, which right now happens to be just electricity or forms of electricity like solar panel or wind stuff, even though they're not efficient. Those departments are parts of the company that are doing wind power or solar power, even though the result is not a good, efficient form of energy. Those parts of the company are getting funded like crazy, and the ones that actually do well and need more employees are not getting funded. It's happening very rapidly right now, and I've seen it in a lot of industries. So, and I've seen a lot of my personal friends who are in big tech companies like Amazon's, VMware's, any web services, software developments. They're getting like radically educated of what's happening in because our country's like going crazy right now. Every week something big is happening, and like they're getting pounded with all this political stuff, and they're telling me, they're like, good things or bad things are happening, but like I don't want to hear about it. If I want to hear about it, I turn on the news, and I'm being forced to watch this stuff or be learned about it or act a different way or present myself in a different way because of whatever's happening politically. I personally think it's a bad thing. Let people work as they work, keep the politics out of it. But the fact is, it is happening. It's driving funding, and you might not realize it. Because I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people have no idea. It's going way over the head. I'm like, you guys need to read between the lines because it can affect your career. If you're in an industry where you're not being funded, that means there's no more growth for you, and you need to get out or switch to a department that is getting funded.